Have you ever had this experience? You're always there for others, responding to every request, showing up whenever you're needed. But in the end, your efforts are taken for granted, maybe even seen as a sign of weakness. Why do you always feel drained, depleted, like you become nothing more than a tool for others? Then there are people who seem to possess a kind of quiet power. They don't need to say a word to take control. They don't yell, they don't plead, they simply step back in silence, and suddenly everything around them shifts. The atmosphere changes. People begin to wonder, to pursue, to feel. Why is that? Let's explore a harsh but undeniable truth. It's only when you become unavailable that the world truly begins to value you. This isn't about turning you into someone cold or selfish. It's about helping you break free from people-pleasing habits and shift from passively reacting to actively taking charge of your own life. You'll learn how to set boundaries, say no to unreasonable demands, and stop the internal struggle so you can channel your valuable energy into things that truly nourish you. More importantly, you'll reconnect with a part of yourself that's been depleted and redefine your sense of self-worth. I'll also share real-life stories of ordinary people who earned respect and success by becoming less available, and how they made it happen. 1. Living as a tool for others' needs. From always saying yes to redefining your value. Many people stay busy all day, only to feel their sense of self-worth slipping away and life becoming more and more exhausting. So what's really going on? Andy from The Devil Wears Prada. When she first joined the fashion magazine, she followed all of Miranda's instructions to the letter in order to prove herself. No matter how absurd or unreasonable the demands were, she would go to great lengths to fulfill them. She was woken up in the middle of the night to track down an article that was nearly impossible to obtain. She even flew to another city just to retrieve a manuscript. She had virtually no personal life, with all her energy devoted entirely to Miranda's needs. In Miranda's eyes, Andy was merely a tool, a replaceable cog in the machine. The more Andy proved herself to be available and compliant, the more Miranda took her for granted and exploited her, never once offering a word of recognition or praise. Until one day, Andy finally woke up. She began to say no, started to reflect on the meaning of her job, and ultimately chose to leave. It was only when she was no longer available, no longer Miranda's personal tool, that she truly rediscovered herself and began to build a career of her own. Look around. How many people are just like Andy, living as someone else's tool in order to gain approval, affection, or simply to avoid conflict? You might be that coworker who always cleans up the mess after everyone else has left for the day. You might be that friend who drops everything to help, anytime, anywhere, at just one call. You might be that family member who takes on responsibilities that aren't yours, yet still doesn't receive the respect you deserve. You may think you're giving and helping, but in reality, you're gradually depleting your own value, making yourself seem less worthy. In their subconscious minds, your constant availability signals that you have no boundaries, no principles, and perhaps not even a strong sense of self. So, the first step to breaking free from the tool person trap is to truly recognize that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable resources. They are not infinite, and they are not for others to take at will. You must learn to set clear boundaries and have the courage to say no to demands that drain you. Remember, your worth is not measured by how well you meet everyone else's needs, but by your unique talents, abilities, and the choices you make. When you start saying no to responsibilities that aren't yours and begin channeling your energy into self-improvement and pursuing your personal goals, you'll find that your value naturally increases, and with it, the respect you receive from others. 2. Interactive game. Once you start helping, it's hard to stop. Have you ever noticed that once you help someone out the first time, it often leads to countless more requests, and it gets harder and harder to say no? Let's take a look at a classic concept in social psychology called the foot in the door effect. This effect describes how, if someone agrees to a small, seemingly trivial request, they're more likely to comply with larger, more unreasonable requests later, either to maintain cognitive consistency or to appear consistent in the eyes of others. It's like opening a small door. Once you step through it, more and more doors start appearing in front of you. For example, a colleague asks you to make a copy of a document for him. You think it's just a small favor, so you agree. Next time, he asks you to help organize a report. You might feel that since you helped him before, it would be awkward to refuse now. Then he might go a step further and start handing over all his work to you, saying something like, "You do it better anyway." Over time, you find yourself taking on more and more tasks that aren't your responsibility, while the other person happily enjoys the benefits of your help. When you finally try to say no, he might act surprised or disappointed, or even accuse you of not being a real friend or lacking loyalty, making you feel guilty and making it even harder to turn him down. Behind this pattern of interaction lies an unconscious power struggle. Your repeated willingness makes the other person take control, placing you in a passive role. What you offer turns into their habitual demands, and any refusal on your part may be seen as uncooperative, or even as a betrayal. As this dynamic unfolds, it often ends with you completely drained, while the other person becomes so accustomed to it that they assume this is simply how things should be. To break free from this cycle of helping to the point where you can't stop, the key is to set clear boundaries from the start and maintain control during interactions. Learn to recognize those subtle small request traps and say no, gently but firmly, before they grow into overwhelming burdens. You can say, "I'm really swamped with work right now, so I might not be able to help," or "I'd love to help you, but I'm truly overwhelmed at the moment." The important thing is not to feel guilty about saying no, because you're protecting your own time and energy. Remember, the clearer you are about your boundaries, the more respect you'll earn from others. As psychologist Blackburn said, healthy relationships are built on clear boundaries. 3. Emotional collusion. You and the person draining you are keeping each other stuck. Some relationships bring you deep pain, yet you find it hard to walk away. What emotional traps lie beneath this? Many of us have been caught in emotional quicksand, repeatedly drained by certain people, yet unable to break free. You can't put all the blame on the other person. More often than not, you've unknowingly taken part in this emotional collusion. It's like a toxic, unspoken agreement. You take on the role of the rescuer or giver, while the other person becomes the victim or taker. The book Memories of Matsuko is an extreme example. Matsuko spent her entire life chasing love, yet she constantly ends up with people who drain her, use her, or even hurt her. She keeps giving, keeps sacrificing, yearning for recognition and love. Her brother scolds her. She endures it. Her lovers hurt her. She forgives them. She shapes herself into what others need, even twisting her own identity to please them. After every time she was hurt, she chose to forgive, hoping the other person would change. This endless cycle of giving, getting hurt, and forgiving caused her to completely lose herself, ultimately ending in tragedy. Why did Songzi end up in such a situation? Because she and those who drained her emotionally co-created an emotional script. Songzi was used to giving and derived her sense of self-worth from it. Those who took advantage of her exploited her tendency to please and sacrifice. One was willing to hurt, the other willing to endure. It was a dynamic that unknowingly formed a symbiotic relationship. This unspoken collusion made it hard for either side to break out of the established pattern. The more you try to save the other person, the more they come to depend on your rescue. The more you try to prove your worth, the more shamelessly they take from you. The key to breaking free from emotional collusion is to disrupt old emotional patterns, stop self-sacrificing, and learn to love yourself. This means bravely confronting your inner fears, such as the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being loved, and the fear of conflict. You need to recognize that your worth isn't defined by how much others need you, but by your own inner wholeness and independence. Stop playing the roles of rescuer or victim, and start focusing on your own emotional needs. Set healthy boundaries and learn to say no to behaviors that violate them. As psychologist Robin Norwood wrote in Women Who Love Too Much, when we stop trying to change others and focus on changing ourselves, we find true freedom. 4. Cognitive conditioning. Mistaking being bullied for being treated well. Some people are clearly being treated unfairly, yet they always manage to make excuses for the other person, even believing that they themselves didn't do well enough. This may sound absurd, but it happens all the time in real life. Why? In our cultural context, there are certain cognitive biases that appear to be virtues, but subtly condition our thinking. They lead us to justify others' exploitative behavior, even to the point of blaming ourselves when we're being taken advantage of. Sayings like suffering a loss is a blessing, take a step back, and the sea will widen, and forgiveness is a virtue are examples. These ideas aren't inherently wrong, but in some situations, they are misused as shields to rationalize others' harmful behavior. For example, in the workplace, your boss often makes you work overtime without extra pay and frequently criticizes you. You might think, my boss works hard too. He's doing this for the company's growth. I'm not skilled enough yet, so I need to put in more effort. At worst, doing more work is a way to build myself up. You rationalize this unfair treatment as a form of tempering, a kind of growth, or even a virtue. Over time, you not only silently endure it all, but also begin to internalize and accept this pattern, believing that you are being diligent and resilient, that you are making a noble sacrifice. This kind of cognitive conditioning is essentially a defense mechanism used by your subconscious to ease inner pain and discomfort. When you can't change your external environment, your brain tries to alter your perception of it, making you believe that this is worth it, or this is my responsibility. However, this kind of self-deception only pulls you deeper into the mire, making it increasingly difficult to escape a life of being drained. It causes you to overlook your own needs and rights, constantly make excuses for others' inappropriate behavior, and eventually even believe that the problem lies with you. Breaking free from cognitive conditioning requires re-examining the beliefs you've long taken for granted and having the courage to question their validity. Don't accept unfairness as normal, and don't pay the price for someone else's mistakes. Learn to recognize situations that make you feel uncomfortable, and have the courage to acknowledge your feelings. You need to understand that your kindness and tolerance should have limits, and your efforts deserve to be reciprocated. As psychologist Carl Jung once said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. This darkness also includes the genuine feelings and needs you've suppressed in order to please others. Only when you fully recognize that you're being drained and stop deceiving yourself can you begin to make a change. 5. Energy metabolism. Always charging others, but running out of power yourself. Why do you constantly feel physically and mentally exhausted without knowing the reason? Maybe you're like a power bank, always charging others while never recharging yourself. Our body and mind function as an energy system. Each day, we replenish our energy through sleep, eating, rest, and entertainment, while we expend it through work, social interactions, and thinking. When our energy output exceeds our input, we begin to feel tired, anxious, and may even develop various physical and mental health issues. People who are constantly available are often net energy givers. They use most of their energy to meet others' needs while neglecting to recharge themselves. It's like a real-life version of an energy vampire story. Although the movie What We Do in the Shadows is a comedy, it vividly portrays the dynamics of energy flow. Those vampires need to feed on human blood to stay alive, while humans become weak after being fed on. Although this is just a fictional example, in real life, there are many people who unknowingly drain your energy. They might be friends who constantly complain but never take action, unloading their negativity onto you and leaving you feeling weighed down. They might be coworkers who are always asking for help but never give anything in return, offloading their responsibilities onto you and leaving you drained. They could even be family members who constantly make you feel guilty or ashamed, whose words and actions bring you down emotionally. When you devote most of your energy to solving other people's problems and meeting their needs, there's barely any left for yourself. You might not have time to exercise, the energy to study, or the mindset to enjoy life. Your hobbies are put on the back burner, and your personal growth comes to a halt. Over time, you may start to feel physically depleted and mentally worn out, even experiencing career burnout or relationship burnout. You become like a drained power bank, while those you've been recharging remain full of energy. The key to restoring this energy imbalance is to manage your energy the same way you manage your finances, by making it a priority to replenish your own reserves first. This means learning to recognize the people and situations that drain your energy and intentionally limiting or avoiding contact with them. You need to set aside time to be alone, engaging in self-reflection, meditation, exercise, reading, or other activities that nourish your body and mind. Learn to say no, and stop carrying emotional burdens that aren't yours. As the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. Only when your own energy is replenished can you truly help others and enjoy a healthy, balanced life. Remember, self-care isn't selfish. It's the foundation that allows you to give and contribute in a sustainable way. 6. Fragmented identity. Becoming who others need you to be, forgetting who you are. Have you ever felt lost, unsure of what you truly like or want, or even felt like you're no longer yourself when you are constantly available and spend a long time living according to others' needs and expectations? Your sense of self gradually becomes fragmented. You may find yourself playing different roles in different relationships. A diligent employee in front of your boss, a trusted confidant among friends, and a selfless caregiver at home. These overlapping roles slowly erode your core identity. You begin to lose touch with your own preferences, values, and dreams. You become the person others need you to be, and forget who you truly are. It's like the movie The Truman Show, where Truman has lived his entire life in a meticulously constructed real world, with every moment of his life captured by countless cameras and broadcast to the entire world. Everyone around him was an actor, playing different roles according to a script to meet the audience's expectations. Truman always believed it was real life, until one day he started to notice something was off. Eventually, he broke through the false boundaries and stepped out of his fabricated world. Only then did he truly begin the search for his real self. The Truman in real life may not be as extreme, but many people still live, to varying degrees, according to someone else's script. You chose a major you don't like to satisfy your parents' expectations, gave up your hobbies to please your partner, hid your true thoughts to fit in with a group. Every time you change yourself for someone else, every time you suppress your true self to gain approval, you're cutting away a part of who you are. Over time, your identity can become like scattered fragments, making it impossible to piece together a complete sense of self. When you lose touch with who you are, you also lose your sense of direction in life and your inner motivation. The key to rebuilding yourself and overcoming fragmented identity lies in reconnecting with your inner world and rediscovering the true self you may have forgotten. This requires you to pause and engage in deep self-reflection. Ask yourself, what do I truly enjoy? What are my core values? What are my dreams? What kind of life do I want to live? You can rediscover yourself through journaling, meditation, traveling, learning new skills, and other practices. Let go of the need for external validation and have the courage to express your genuine thoughts and feelings, even if it makes some people uncomfortable. Remember, your life belongs to you, and you don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations. Only when you truly understand and embrace your whole self can your life shine with genuine brilliance. As the renowned psychologist Freud once said, the goal of life is not pleasure, but meaning. And that meaning can only be defined by your true self. What we just talked about are real pain points in our lives and struggles that countless people are currently going through. But please remember, it's only when you become unavailable that the world starts to truly value you. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means learning to love yourself, setting healthy boundaries, and putting an end to unnecessary inner turmoil. That IT means devoting your precious time and energy to the things that truly nourish and elevate you. It means having the courage to say no to requests that cross your boundaries, even if doing so feels uncomfortable in the moment. It means reclaiming your inner strength, your sense of self-worth, and your authentic identity. This path may not be easy. You may face resistance, and some people may not understand or may even criticize you. But trust that once you begin walking this path with conviction, you'll find that not only will you earn the respect of others, more importantly, you'll regain your own self-respect. You'll discover that those who truly love and care about you will understand and support your transformation. And those who only know how to drain your energy will eventually fade from your life. As the saying goes, when you bloom, the butterflies will come. When you stop living as a tool for others, when you learn to recharge yourself, when you reclaim your whole self, you begin to radiate a light that's uniquely yours. In that moment, you'll discover that the relationships and opportunities truly aligned with your energy, those that nourish you, will show up effortlessly. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even hated, in pursuit of inner freedom? Are you willing to pay that price to be your authentic self? If this video resonated with you, if it meant something to you, write "I want to take control of my life" in the comments. Let's see how many people here are ready to embrace this transformation. Don't forget to watch the next video. It's just as important and will help us keep improving. See you there.